Thank you, Representative Gerberry. Thank you for coming here today after committee. We're again gathered to call for a stop to these partisan attacks on voting rights, because that is all that they are. There is no reason to cut the number of early voting days and cut the evening and weekend hours that boards of elections and voters have come to rely on. There is no reason to make it harder to count ballots over minor errors. There is no reason to prevent the mailing of absentee ballot applications and the payment of postage for returning voting materials. There is no reason for any of this except to make it harder to vote and to ensure that fewer people vote. We are not going to dance around this. The changes that these bills we heard today will not save money and will not improve our elections. They will cost money, and they will reduce accountability and integrity in our election system. These bills cheat voters out of their fundamental right to vote. We know why the bills are moving. We know because no amount of evidence or lack of supporters will deter them from ramming these voter suppression bills through. The goal is to have fewer voters and especially fewer Democratic voters. Two recent pieces have come out from national election scholars that are finally hitting the nail on the head. One research paper shows that states with the most voting restrictions are states where minorities and low-income voters have recently turned out the most. The conclusions of that paper were that factors such as race and class were motivating these restrictions, so that who gets to vote can be more tightly controlled, and hence election outcomes can be more tightly controlled. Another piece came out just yesterday, and it called out the conservative movement's barely disguised calls for literacy testing and poll taxes. Conservative voices say things like, we want a more informed electorate. We don't want early voting where, quote, stubborn voters will make uninformed decisions prematurely. They say, without any shame, that voting should be harder, not easier. And this isn't just the stuff you read in the Washington Post. This is the stuff I hear on the ground here in Ohio. It is the height of arrogance to assume that voters who use early voting, same-day registration, or any other reasonable accommodations are somehow less informed or less deserving of their fundamental right. We'll continue to argue against these bills, to offer amendments to these bills, and to educate our colleagues about how close we are coming to putting Ohio on the wrong side of history. We urge our colleagues not to pass any of these voter suppression bills. We urge them to examine the recommendation of the President's bipartisan commission. And if any of these bills are passed through the legislature, we urge Governor Kasich to veto them. There would be no excuse for the governor to rubber stamp voter suppression.